Testing. Yeah. Okay. Hey everyone, I read 65 books in 2024 and these are my 5-star reads. I have divided the whole video into genres. There are not many books in each genre because I think I was I didn't give many books 5 stars. And I think 1 or 2 of these books are not full 5 stars. I've given them 5 stars on Goodreads, but it may be a 4.75. But they're still really good. Starting with the simpler, easy to read genres first. I have a graphic novel series. This is really this has been really spoken about in 2024. It's really picked up in popularity. None other than the Heartstopper series. The first 5 books are out. So this is an romance graphic novel about Nick and Charlie. They are both in school and they meet at school and the story goes from there. It's a friends to lover romance. Amazing tropes and a lot of issues are discussed in this book. It's by Osman. She's actually covered a lot of deep-rooted topics in society today, whether there's a lot of LGBTQ representation as well, mental health representation, eating disorders. So you can look up those trigger warnings, but I will say it has been handled so well. She speaks about it. The characters address it with so much empathy and respect. The plot is really nice and simple, very accessible for kids as well and adults. I would highly recommend this. You can literally finish the whole series in a few hours, so it's great. Moving on to manga. I only started manga this year, so I've literally only read 1 and it blew me away, but it is a very highly regarded book. It's called Goodbye Eri. I'll put the picture here. It is award-winning. So this is about a boy who presents a movie that he produced and made and filmed about his mother's death, and it is filmed at some kind of school film festival, and he gets a lot of criticism for it because the ending is a bit odd, and he thinks the ending is very intelligent and it's his genius. Nobody around him seems to take it that way. So the story moves on from there. He ends up going into a depressive phase and he meets a random girl at the rooftop of maybe in the school or the hospital, I'm not sure, but he meets her at a rooftop and the story goes from there because she happens to know about his film, or she watches his film and she likes the ending. It does throw you into a lot of mind loops. You don't know what is real, what is fiction in the story, but it is absolutely amazing. I did feel like the story absolutely bended and completely twisted and squeezed out my mind. I really enjoyed that. This was my favorite non-fiction of the year. It's called Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tulleken. I hope I said that correct. He talks about the food industry today and how, especially in Western countries, UK, US, Australia, places like that, how food has completely transformed human society and how we look at food. And I like the way he did it in the sense that he's not teaching you or giving you advice on what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. It simply talks about the origin of many different chemicals and processing agents that are used in factories to mass produce food today. And over time, as you go through the book, you just start getting disgusted by food that is very easily accessible and affordable in supermarkets. And it's made us, myself and Kiwi, both of us appreciate the value of real unprocessed food, whether it's from farms or the organic sections of these supermarkets. They are more expensive, but it does give you the reasons as to why. It helps you make better food choices. You don't really need to end up spending more to eat healthy, but it's simply trying to understand what do the labels in these food packaging mean, because especially in the countries where you do get reliable labeling rules and laws, like where you can actually get a lot of information on what is being put in your food. So this talks a lot about that, things like emulsifiers, stabilizers, flavoring agents and colors and all that stuff. So why do they put those in the food? What are the properties that it adds to the food? And you will just be scared by the end of it, like, why have I been eating all that stuff all these years? And yeah, it really does put a lot of things in perspective. I would definitely say this is something that I really wish they push in schools also, not just for students. Maybe school kids may not really grasp this that well, but definitely for the parents and in colleges. I think everybody needs to read this book. And even in countries like back home in India, where they're really looking towards the West, like a lot of people getting influenced from eating habits from the West, it's just sad. And I feel like I'm really proud of the traditional Indian cuisine that I grew up eating. After reading this book, I just have a newfound appreciation for how we grew up and all the recipes we know. Like, we are really blessed. Even a friend of mine from Mexico, having seen the kind of suggestions his grandmother used to give him and stuff, like, I really appreciate these age-old recipes and cultures and traditions. Goes back to that saying, eat what your grandma used to eat and you will be healthy. So yeah, stick to those traditional foods and you'll be fine. But this definitely, in today's world, please read this. I'm just trying to say that. Please pick this up, read this. I know most people who want to get into reading want to read non-fiction, since it helps you with your day-to-day. So if you're going to pick something up this year, please pick this one. This one. Can you see it? Can you see it? This one. Moving on to romance. I do read almost all the main genres. I just want to read everything and keep my options and horizons open. I do enjoy most of them as well. It doesn't take much for me to enjoy something. I did read a lot of romances this year. My favorite one, the only one I gave 5 stars, was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This was my first Emily Henry book, and I know she's known to be amazing at romance and fiction, women's fiction, and I can see the hype just with one book. This was also the book I actually decided to annotate and tab. So I've never actually done tabbing. This was the first one I chose to tab, and I went crazy. Like, I really went crazy. And I'll try and show you. So I actually color-coded the tabs. Like, each tab has a specific topic I'm trying to discuss, and then look at how many tabs there are. This is an enemies to lovers, and it's about Nora, who is a literary agent, and there's Charlie, who is the love interest, and he is an editor in the same. So they are both in the book industry. It's a professional enemies to lover. It's not like high stakes enemies to lover, but the book starts when Nora is she's just going through a breakup on a phone call, and she's on the way to meet Charlie for pitching one of the authors that she's working for, her books, to Charlie. And Charlie has read the book and he declines that offer because he doesn't like the book. They didn't really start off on the right note. The setting of the book that she's trying to sell is in a place called Sunshine Falls. Obviously finds someone to edit and release it. And the book gets really famous, and her sister is a big fan of the book, and her sister convinces her to go on a holiday to Sunshine Falls, which is the setting of the book. And there's something going on with her sister's life, some personal issues going on there. And guess who she ends up meeting in Sunshine Falls. So yes, the story goes from there. And I would say the plot is not what really impressed me. Like it was good, like for a romance book, but it was more to do with like the anecdotes and the humor, the banter, and even metaphors that I used in the book. It was just insane, like how she is able to make these comparisons. Like I'll just give you an example of some of the things that I annotated. Yeah, like the yellow tabs in this book that I've tabbed, I've labeled that as epic metaphors. So here goes one. If my professionalism is a gel manicure, then Charlie Lastra is apparently the industrial grade acetone capable of burning right through it. I mean, that sentence is just genius. I don't know how she comes up with it, but this is the first and only book I have read of Emily Henry, and I really hope to get through the others. I do have some of them physical here, so I will definitely get through to them in 2025. Next is my favorite mystery / thriller novel. I again read multiple of these. That is the genre I used to read in school. Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, all that jazz, Famous Five, The Five Find Outers, all that was the stuff I used to read in school. So mystery thriller I still love and very much enjoy. I don't have the physical of this one. I do read most of my mystery thrillers on Kindle purely because I normally always remember the plot twist, so I will most likely never go to the mystery thriller to that book again. So I just prefer having them on ebook. So I read this one on my Kindle. I will put it up here. I'm talking about None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I have read multiple of Lisa Jewell books. I did read the duology called Family Upstairs and The Family Remains, and I also read Then She Was Gone. I did not like Then She Was Gone, but I liked The Family Upstairs. If I were to pick the best Lisa Jewell book, and I think of all the mystery thrillers I read this year, in 2024, was None of This Is True. I will also highly recommend the audiobook because I did listen to the audiobook while reading it on my Kindle, so I do that sometimes. I don't remember the names of the characters. Let me look it up. Okay, yeah, so this is about Alex and Josie, and they both cross paths at a restaurant, and they learn that they are birthday twins because Josie listens to something, the celebration happening at Alex's table, and she realizes Alex is her birthday twin. So she approaches Alex one day, introduces herself, and they start getting to know each other. So Alex is a podcaster and journalist, and she records podcasts in her backyard at home. So she invites Josie to come over and start a podcast about Josie. And the story goes from there. It eventually unravels a lot of dark secrets that Josie has. It takes a lot of wild twists and turns. You don't know if Josie's intentions are good or bad. She's very obsessed, and there is a lot of spooky things happening. And towards the end, also, I loved the plot twist, and I am convinced what probably happened. But it is so well done because the way the book is written and narrated in the audiobook is like it is actually shown in the audiobook like a Netflix production. So the podcast is already out, and Netflix has picked it up and made it into a series about this whole shenanigan that happened. So you are actually listening to this sort of real life Netflix show, and then you are also reading the story's flow that is going on, the time when the podcast was probably getting recorded, and what Josie was doing behind the scenes. So you have this like shift in timeline, and it is the way they have done it and written it in the book, it's amazing. Lisa has done an amazing job, and it really gave me the thrills and the goosebumps. I would definitely recommend to pick this up. I think this was, if I wouldn't even say it's a mystery, it's definitely a very, very well-written thriller, and you will really enjoy it. We've done manga, graphic novel, romance, mystery, thriller, non-fiction. Okay, yeah, let's get on with general fiction. So there are a few types of fiction I read this year, and the two books out of all those I would like to highlight. First one is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is nothing new. Everybody has, I think, read this or spoken about it, but if you haven't, I would definitely recommend picking this up. It is about, as the title says, it's about Evelyn Hugo. She was a very famous actress, and it follows Evelyn Hugo's story through actually Monique's perspective. So she's a reporter in a magazine, and for some reason she was the one that Evelyn Hugo requested to interview her for a magazine article. And nobody knows why at the magazine, because Monique is not very experienced, and they don't know why Evelyn Hugo wants such a young reporter to come and interview her. And it's been a long time, a few decades since Evelyn Hugo has been on any media platform. So this is a huge deal for the magazine's progress. So they do definitely want to interview her. So Evelyn Hugo is in her old age, and Monique has started going to her house to interview her for this magazine, and she starts narrating all her life story from there, like all the partners that she had and her real love interest. And it was the journey. Again, there's not really much to the plot. There's a little bit of a plot as to why she picked Monique, and that bit of a mystery element is there, but I don't think that was a very big plot twist. But I would say the way in which Taylor Jenkins Reid writes is, again, it's just so relatable. Her characters are flawed in the most beautiful and relatable way. Like you wouldn't really have the heart to point fingers and talk ill about them, because you're getting the perspective of why they are doing certain things and the suffering and what they are really going through and how they are grinding through life, so it really resonates with most readers. This is the second book I've read of Taylor Jenkins Reid. The first one I read in 2023 was Daisy Jones and the Six. That was definitely my favorite. I think 5 stars is also an understatement for that. But it does have that same sort of Taylor Jenkins Reid trademark writing, and it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know how to describe it. If you read it, you would get it. Like you should try and pick this up and see if you like this kind of contemporary general fiction. I do know that she does leave a little bit of breadcrumbs between her books, like this one, Daisy Jones and the Six, and Carrie Soto's Back is all based in the same world. So you do end up like listening to some points from the other books. Like Daisy Jones and the Six is about a band, and you do hear their songs being played at one of the parties in this book. So you do get those kind of, and I love to see that, because it just makes the experience a bit more real. Like you feel like you are in that world and it does exist, and I love fictional worlds, and because I don't know, I just love these characters. I'd wish they were real. I wish this was their world I was living in, and it just adds fuel to that desire, So yeah, that was one of the fiction books that I loved. The other one I would like to talk about is a historical literary fiction book called The Covenant of Water. Unfortunately, I don't have the physical book of that. I did read it both on my as an ebook and a physical book. Borrowed it from a friend. So I did buy a hardback, but then I shipped it to India as a Christmas present for my family. I'll tell you why. So it's called The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. His native is definitely Kerala, and the book follows a woman in Kerala who, at the age of 12 in 1900, was married off to a 40-year-old man, and she had to move and relocate to that man's house and his property and look after that family. So there is, like, I'm definitely not for child marriage or any of those age-old traditions and customs. Like, it's definitely not right. I don't know. I'm just trying to say is that I definitely follow feministic principles. But the way this book was written, my God, like, it was so heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. And there were highs and lows. It follows the family for about 3 generations, so all the way up to 1980s or so. And you see her all the way up to her granddaughter. There are different POVs. You're not just following her. You're following some people in the village, the relatives. You're also following people from other parts, even in England, because that was the colonial times of India. And you're also following some people in Chennai, and eventually they all intertwine. And it is so beautiful. It pulled me back to the feeling that I could not describe as a child when I would go to Kerala during my summer holidays. And this is not a very well spoken of book, and I really hope it picks up and it's talked about a lot, and it gets hyped up like crazy, because there is so much representation about how Kerala used to be. And even to this day, like, there are still a lot of houses in Kerala that live and run like this. Like, you have your own people who look after the estate, and you have these house helps at home who look after the house, and how the dynamic is between the family and these people. Like, the caste system is still very much there, but like, I would like to say that although over time awareness has picked up and people do try and avoid that divide and segregation, and there is more respect building up, but that does not go to say that there was no love and respect back in the day. Although it's not right, there was no ill will. It was only that's just how it was, and people did not really know better during that time. The story does very honestly show what the feeling is like to be in such a family, and how the dynamic is, the little issues and politics that are happening within the family, and it is all put in a very beautiful, heartfelt way. There are also some descriptions about Kerala animals, like elephants are a big thing. Families who are wealthy enough to have and look after elephants do have elephants, and they are also treated like as if they are part of the family. And there are a lot of little episodes that families experience with their elephants. The elephants are very much in touch with what's happening in the family. They will behave and act in certain ways that you would really be able to communicate with them, and it is really described so well. It's something I wish everyone would read, because I love where I love the vibes of Kerala, and I do carry it in me every day because I am from Kerala. So I would love people to know what Kerala is really like and what it is about. And yeah, it's really a heartfelt story for me, and it's close to me. And I say that, but I was actually recommended to read this by a friend of mine. He's British and we play badminton, and he's like 70 something years old. His wife happened to read this book and she loved it. She suggested he should read this book and he absolutely loved it. And then he also asked me to read this book, and that's who I borrowed it from. And he did say that I would relate to it so much more because it's set in Kerala, and he was totally right. There are Malayalam slangs in it. Like, it's obviously written in English, but it gives you enough guidance as to what's happening, and you don't really need to know Malayalam to read it. But oh my God, it is so beautiful. Like, if you have the time, it is a chunky book. And if you really want to know a little bit more about Kerala and its people and animals and the family culture tradition, like, please pick it up. It's beautifully written. I can't wait to see. He has a backlist. Abraham Verghese has a backlist. I do want to get to his other books, and I will really, really try. I'm just gutted about this book is not published in India, but thankfully I have got my hands on a copy to ship it. I have shipped it to them, so I'm waiting for my family to read it. Lastly, it's maybe my favorite genre. I know I said I'm not biased or partial to a specific genre, but I will say I am really enjoying the fantasy genre. It could maybe be because I'm very new to it. I've only started reading a lot in the last 2-3 years. So I am very new to this genre. So you've probably seen it in the background. The 5-star reads in fantasy, starting with Fourth Wing. Everybody and their mothers and dogs and cats and pets and everyone has read this book. So if you have not picked if you have not picked this one up, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? I mean, it's so popular in the last 2 years. I think Iron Flame, which is a second book, came out in 2024, but I have not read that one. This is the second book. Kiwi has read both of them. I will read Iron Flame in Jan, because Onyx Storm, which is the third book, is coming out in Jan of 2025. So I do plan to read Iron Flame before that comes out. So I'm ready for I do know there's a cliffhanger at the end of Iron Flame, which is apparently a big one. There is a cliffhanger at the end of Fourth Wing also, but I think the Iron Flame one is bigger. But yeah, Fourth Wing is about a war school that also has dragons, and they have 4 different kinds of roles in that school. So you sort of decide where you want to specialize in. So if you're one of those roles is a rider, which means you ride on the dragons and you participate in war and stuff. So you look after your dragon, you participate in war, and it's really risky. You can lose your life. So there's a lot of high stakes there. And then you have healers, which help, they're medical, so they help heal and look after illnesses and things. And then there's scribe, I think, and scribe is people who do research, scientists, make notes and just maintain ledgers and things about different parts of their world, whether it's war details or strategies and things like that. When I say roles, I mean they call it quadrants. There are 4 quadrants, so it's the scribe quadrant and rider quadrant and things. So we follow Violet Sorengale. She has a sister and a brother. That's not important. We follow Violet Sorengale, and she's actually wanting to specialize and work in the scribe quadrant, but is unfortunately pushed into the rider quadrant, I think, by her mother, who is a general. And she's not really well trained. She's quite tiny for her age, so it's even more risky for her to get into that quadrant and try to become a rider. So there is a lot that goes into becoming a rider, the different kinds of training sessions, and you have competitions. And the way you win and become a rider is you have to survive. So if you lose a competition and a stage of selection process, that just means you died, basically. So it's a lot of high stakes. And it is also a romantasy. So there is a romance side plot to this. I would say it is quite heavy on that. But there is a lot of action. There is politics, magic systems, and plot to go with it. It was a very well-rounded story. There's everything for everyone who reads this. So I would say you don't really need to like something to pick this up. Like you get a little bit of everything, and it's in good amounts, so you will really enjoy this. The one good thing that almost everybody talks about is that if you have dragons in the book, it's automatically fun. But I would say the way they've done dragon and rider relationship in this, it's very, very cute. Like the dragons also have personalities. They also bicker and banter. They have an attitude, and that is really fun. So you do root for the special moments that the characters have with each other and their dragons. And yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this. I think fantasy might just be getting a special place within me. So yeah, fantasy, this is the first fantasy 5 stars. Not new. Everybody knows that one. The same goes for the next one I'm going to talk about. Are you ready? This is the last 5 star I would like to talk about, again in the fantasy genre, is none other than Sarah J. Maas, A Coat of Thorns and Roses. So this is the entire series that's currently out. I am so happy that there is more coming, but I'm also sad about I don't know when. So I have only read the first 4 up to this novella here, and I did rate the first one 4 stars, but the rest following that so far I have rated it 5 stars. I have not read the 5th one, which is A Coat of Silver Flames. I'm planning to read that one in Jan. So it's my plans of Jan is basically this one and Iron Flame. So yeah, they're very big, chunky books. But yeah, let's get to my actual 5 stars. I would say the whole series is a 5 stars. I'll explain why. So A Coat of Thorns and Roses is about Feyre, who is the youngest in her family. She has 2 elder sisters and they live with her very ill dad. She is actually hunting for the family and keeping them alive throughout the winter because her sisters are not capable of hunting and she knows to hunt. So she goes to the forest near where they live and she tries to hunt animals and bring the meat home to keep them alive, to help the family. So the book starts when she's hunting and she comes across a wolf and she somehow manages to kill the wolf, and she brings the wolf home, and eventually it's revealed that the wolf was no ordinary wolf. It was a high fae, fae as in respected magical creatures, respected and scared, like feared, respected and feared magical creatures. So there is a map in each of these books. It's there's a lot happening in terms of the different parts of the world and different kinds of creatures. So there are obviously humans, but there are also fays. So there are human lands and fey lands, and majority of the two is separated by this big magical wall, simply for avoiding conflict and protecting the humans from the fae, because there's a lot of history and complex politics that has happened over the last centuries, and you dig through that as you go into the story. So when Feyre hunts the wolf and it comes to notice that she has killed a high fae, there is someone from the Fey land who has come to find the the hunter of this wolf and punish them. So you either get killed as punishment, or you have to travel to the Feyland and live, essentially get exiled from your human life and just serve and live with the High Lord of whoever you hurt or whoever's rules you broke. So obviously her family and they don't want her to die, so she chooses to go and live with the High Lord. And that's where the story goes from. And she's living with the High Lord, which is he's the High Lord of the Spring Court. So the different parts are divided into like seasons and day and night and stuff. So there's like Spring Court, Summer Court, Autumn Court, Winter Court, Night Court, and Day Court. So there's more. There are a few islands and things. So she's living in the Spring Court, which is just beyond the wall. And that's where she starts learning about the Feylands and things. Again, this is also a romantasy, so there is romance in this. There are other High Lords that you eventually meet, and it's I would say the first book, I didn't give it 5 stars purely because, and this is common, like everybody says it's very dragged out. At least the first 80% is like literally just world building and you getting to know as a reader what the land is about, like who are the different people in it, like there's something strange happening and you're still figuring things out along with Feyre. So you're also getting to know her and what her morals and values are, how she's planning to navigate this new world, like how will she get back, will she go back to her family, all that stuff. And then the last 10-20% of the book is just like bam, like Sarah J. Maas will just throw you into all these like politics and loopholes, and things just start coming together and everything makes sense, and then you can't wait to carry on. So that's when it picks up. So just because the first, like, it's not bad, a lot of the book you have to put up with because there's a lot of world building. It's because you need to know about it's setting the scene for the rest of the books, and they are long chunky books except for the novella. So without spoiling anything, that's all I'll leave you with. The lesser you know, the better. So it's worth going into it blind. It's a highly regarded and well-loved series. Like, I'm not a big fantasy reader, so I don't have much to compare it with, but it is very, very popular. You can just look at the numbers online on Goodreads and everything, and it's popular for a reason. So yeah, pick this one up if you have a lot of time. It is a commitment, but you will love it and it's worth it. So yeah, that was all my 5 stars for 2024. I hope you enjoyed. I am planning to do a video on all my 65 books of 2024. There are so many 4 stars and 3 stars that I would also recommend, and purely because they are not bad ratings, first, and second, just because I didn't like some aspects of it, you might like it. So I will speak about why I didn't give it 5 stars, but that may not be much of an issue for you. And also, there might be books that I did not like, and the reasons why I did not like, you might actually like them for those reasons. So there's going to be another follow-up video where I talk about all my books, and that will be less detail about each book, but I will give you the list of all books. And there are more genres and more books, a lot more books in that one. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed, and let me know if you're going to pick any of these ones up. And I hope you had a good spread and you found something from this video. So yeah, thank you so much. Stay tuned for more book content. I am planning to do them. If you want Kiwi to also do some of these, you're going to have to badger him in the comment section. You never know, he might be convinced to start this as well. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more. Bye!